We're all taught that muscle growth is this simple formula, right? Lift heavy, make sure your testosterone is high, and just shovel in tons of protein. But what if I told you that you could have great T levels, eat 300 grams of protein a day, and train your heart out 5 times a week, and still not gain an ounce of muscle? It's true. And it's because the real driver for muscle growth is this forgotten hormone that almost nobody in the fitness world talks about. And this is where things get super frustrating, especially for guys over 40. You look in the mirror and you're just thinking, how is this even possible? I'm doing everything right, I'm training with intensity, I'm eating clean, but I feel like I'm actually getting smaller. If that sounds familiar, I promise you, you are not alone. And it's not because you're not putting in the effort. So here's the thing you've got to understand. The problem isn't the work you're putting in. The problem is that your internal hormonal environment, your metabolic environment, is literally fighting against you. It doesn't matter how hard you train, it doesn't matter if you eat chicken and broccoli every 3 hours. If the wrong hormones are running the show, your body's muscle-building switch is just flipped off, period. And this gets to the heart of a huge problem. The way the modern fitness industry teaches us to think about muscle growth, it's fundamentally broken. It's completely upside down. Honestly, it's like they're trying to build a house starting from the roof. So let's break down this upside-down pyramid. Think about it. Most guys, what do they obsess over? The stuff at the very top. Protein powders, calorie trackers, the latest supplements, getting their macros just right. They think more food, more protein, that's the answer. Then, maybe, they start to think about testosterone. But they completely ignore the most critical piece of the puzzle, the actual foundation. But this is how it's supposed to be done. This is what the guys back in the golden era of bodybuilding understood almost intuitively. They focused on creating an anabolic or a growth-promoting environment first. That's the base of the pyramid. That has to be solid. Only then do hormones like testosterone really come into play. And then last, way up at the very top, that's where you fine-tune the details like protein and calories. You have to build from the ground up. Okay, so what's the secret sauce here? What's actually controlling this all-important metabolic environment? What is this forgotten hormone that's acting like the master switch for all muscle growth? Well, let's finally give it a name. All right, here it is. The hormone is insulin. Now hold on, before you click away thinking, wait, isn't insulin the bad guy, the hormone that stores fat? Look, chronically high insulin is absolutely destructive. But here's the truth. When you manage it correctly, insulin is the single most powerful muscle-building hormone in your body. It's basically the traffic cop that tells every single nutrient from every meal you eat where to go, either to your muscles to build them up or to your fat cells to be stored. But here's the catch. Insulin can only do its job if your cells are actually listening. And that's where something called insulin sensitivity comes in. Think of it like a key. When your muscle cells are super sensitive to insulin, the key fits perfectly, the door swings open, and all those amino acids and glucose rush inside to build muscle. But if your sensitivity is low, that door is slammed shut and locked, deadbolted, and it doesn't matter how much protein you eat. And what's crazy is that the very things that wreck our insulin sensitivity seem to pile on as we get older. First, high-carb diets and constant snacking. You know that old advice to eat 5 or 6 times a day? You're just spiking insulin constantly, and your cells just get worn out and stop listening. Second, constant stress jacks up a hormone called cortisol. And third, a lack of deep quality sleep, getting less than 7 hours a night, just throws your whole hormonal system into chaos. Here's a really powerful way to picture this. If well-managed insulin is your muscle-building construction crew, showing up ready to work, then cortisol is the demolition crew with a wrecking ball. When you're always stressed and sleep-deprived, that high cortisol is literally signaling your body to break down your hard-earned muscle tissue for emergency fuel. It's like you're trying to build a skyscraper while a wrecking ball is just swinging at the foundation. It's never going to work. Okay, so that's the problem. But listen, the great news is this is totally fixable. You have complete control over this. So let's get into the practical blueprint you can use right now to flip that anabolic switch back into the on position. And the strategy you'll see is actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. First up, stop grazing. Just eat 2 or 3 solid meals a day. This gives your insulin levels a chance to fall and your cells a chance to reset. Next, make those meals built around protein and healthy fats. And finally, you have to earn your carbs. The only time you should really be eating a decent amount of carbohydrates is in that window right after your workout, when your muscles are like sponges, ready to soak them up for repair and growth. And this right here, This is a perfect roadmap for your week. On days you train, try to start your morning fasted to keep that insulin nice and low. In the gym, focus on tension and volume, not just ego lifting. Then you have your carbs post-workout. Now on your rest days, go very low carb, maybe even no carb, and get outside for a 45 to 60-minute walk. This is huge for lowering cortisol and improving circulation. And of course, every single night, make 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep a non-negotiable priority. So you might be listening to all this and thinking, okay, that makes sense, but is this really my problem? Well, you don't need to go get a blood test. Let's do a quick check-in, a little self-assessment, right now. Just listen to these next 3 questions and be honest with yourself. All right, question number 1. Do you get tired or sleepy after you eat, especially after a meal that has a good amount of carbs? That classic post-meal crash? That's a huge red flag that your body is struggling to manage its blood sugar, a textbook sign of low insulin sensitivity. Okay, number 2. Where do you tend to store body fat? Is it mostly around your waist, your midsection? That area is the number 1 parking spot for fat when insulin resistance is high. It means your body is preferentially shuttling nutrients to the fat cells right there in your belly. And the last one, question 3. Do you feel like you need carbs to have energy? Like, do you feel weak, shaky, or just totally flat during a workout if you haven't eaten them? That's a huge sign that your body isn't metabolically flexible. It's become dependent on carbs, which is another symptom of poor insulin function. So, how did you do? Look, if you found yourself nodding your head and saying yes to even one of those questions, it's a pretty safe bet that low insulin sensitivity is the bottleneck that's been holding back all your progress. It's that locked door, keeping the nutrients out of your muscle cells, no matter how hard you train. Let's bring this all home with one final thought, and it's a big one. Building muscle isn't about force-feeding yourself or endlessly chugging more protein shakes. It's about fixing your internal metabolic environment first. It's about creating a body that is primed and ready and eager to grow. So the real question you should be asking isn't, am I eating enough? It's, is my body actually ready to build with what I'm giving it?